This is a Fox News alert. For close to 2 years, American politics has been stuck in a state of suspended animation. For 2 years, this city, the city of Washington, has been utterly consumed by the far-reaching investigation of Special Counsel Robert Mueller, the business of running the government and improving the lives of the people who live here. Those have been a distant second for 2 years. Tonight, the Mueller era is ending. At 5 p.m. this afternoon, Robert Mueller delivered his report to the Attorney General of the United States, William Barr. Good evening. Welcome to Tucker Carlson tonight. The Mueller report has not been released yet, but there are some things we know about its contents. And so we wanted to start tonight our special coverage with Mollie Hemingway, who's a senior editor at The Federalist and has followed every twist and turn of this story since the first day. Mollie, thanks a lot for coming on. What strikes you about what we know now?
Well, we really won't know yet what's in the report. There are a lot of calls for people to be transparent about it. But one of the interesting things we found out today is that there are no new indictments that are coming from the special counsel. And the reason why that's significant is if you take a step back and you think about what brought us here. Several years ago, there was a political operation that was secretly bought and paid for by the Hillary Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee to claim that Donald Trump was an agent of Russia. This was fed to the media, who largely took it uncritically, and they accepted it and they pushed it right back out. And then it was weaponized by some of the highest levels of our federal government and was used to justify wiretaps against Trump campaign affiliates, the placing of human informants against the campaign, and all sorts of actions that were pretty extreme. Eventually, it led to this special counsel. And for years, we've had this slow drip of stories claiming that when it all came out, we'd find out that Donald Trump was definitely, the evidence showed, an agent of Russia. Learning that there are no more indictments coming down. If that were true, if it were true that he was an agent of Russia, you wouldn't just be seeing one indictment. You'd be seeing dozens, if not hundreds of indictments.
Justified indictments, by the way. If the President of the United States was an agent of a foreign power, yes.
Yes, hopefully we would be taking that very seriously.
Yes, we would be.
See that. And we've been promised this largely. We've been promised that there's evidence. You've had high-ranking members of Congress claiming that there was evidence. And to find out that, in fact, there is no evidence to support such an indictment against anyone closely affiliated with the president. We have had all sorts of other people caught up in this probe, but not for treasonous collusion with Russia to steal the 2016 election. That is significant, no matter what comes out of this now. And there should be people who are held accountable for having uncritically spread this theory without evidence.
Completely. Of the many threads in this, maybe the most significant is the fact, not the speculation, the fact that a presidential campaign was spied upon by the government of a rival party. Barack Obama's administration spied on Donald Trump's presidential campaign. And the pretext was Russian collusion, but they did it. Why isn't the press more curious about this? Why has former President Obama not testified about why this was allowed? Why don't we know more?
Well, part of the reason why I don't think we've had more answers from President Obama is because of that first issue. The press have been remarkably incurious about this. Normally, this would be the story that reporters would wait a lifetime for. Finding out that the FBI was so politicized that they were actually running informants or spying on a presidential campaign, that they had successfully secured a wiretap against an individual who, it's worth noting, we've just found out today, there are no further charges coming. That means that wiretap was run against that individual, and there might have actually been several wiretaps against individuals with no indictments coming. That means they were harassed by their federal government and that they were not what the federal government had claimed.
Well, right, so that's kind of it right there. So the proof is in the indictment or lack thereof. If I violate your civil liberties, if I make it impossible for you to make a living, if I destroy your reputation such that you can't have a job again, and they've done that to a number of people, and then I don't indict you for the crimes everyone is accusing you of, doesn't that mean that I was wrong, you were right?
Well, certainly the evidence does not suggest that they were right to have secured wiretaps against these people and they behaved poorly. It's also interesting because you hear people saying, oh, okay, well, I guess Mueller's wrapping up. Let's just move on from this. Good to know that President Trump is not an agent of Putin, as if there weren't real harm or damage caused by people weaponizing this information operation that was a Hillary Clinton campaign operation, as if the country weren't harmed by it, as if our attorney general weren't completely kneecapped, as if you didn't have people having to pay a lot of money to defend themselves against this investigation, and as if you didn't have people really undermining an administration for several years. Right. People need to be held accountable for what they did to spread this theory, and that's true both inside the government and outside the government. And the media want to just quickly move on and quickly find a way to justify their behavior. But I don't think people forget what they were subjected to for the last several years and how people who were skeptical of this crazy collusion conspiracy theory were treated when now we see no more indictments
They
coming.
injected poison into the bloodstream of this country. And by the way, you're absolutely right to note the former Attorney General Jeff Sessions, whose reputation was completely destroyed.
Because he was supposedly an agent of Putin. I think people have forgotten.
Right. And he was attacked by the president he faithfully served because of this investigation.
Well, he should have not recused himself.
I agree, but I mean, he was an honorable man, and he's really been hurt by this. There's so many victims of this, and I hope that we take time. Somebody takes time to apologize to each one of them and try to make it right. Mollie Hemingway, it's great to see you tonight. Thank you for starting off the show.